Okay, so in just a few hours, the president of the nation's largest labor union federation, the AFL-CIO, will deliver the organization's annual State of the Union's speech. The address comes ahead of Labor Day, with the AFL-CIO marking the holiday with more than 500 events nationwide and a summer bus tour that the group says promotes organizing and fair contracts. And the president of the AFL-CIO, Liz Shuler, joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I understand you have some new data that shows how workers are feeling about their economic security, whether they're Democrats or Republicans.
That's right, Mika. Thank you so much for having us on the show this morning. And working people are feeling very precarious. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy. People are working harder for less and feeling the pinch of everyday costs that continue to go up. So they're feeling, trying to find their way and make ends meet. And so we think that this Labor Day, we should have a focus on labor, on workers. And so we are trying to bring that forward. Instead of buying your mattress or, going to the barbecue, you should be thinking more about the working people of this country who are actually making, our economy hum.
So, Liz, let's look at how these workers are feeling in this new survey that you've shared with us. Some pretty staggering numbers. 83% of general workers are concerned about their retirement, 76% about not being able to make ends meet, 70% say they're not making what they deserve. The list goes on and on. I mean, if you've got 3/4 of American workers saying, I can't make ends meet, that is a massive problem. And as you point out, exacerbated by some of the inequality that's going to be really promoted further by this new legislation that gives tax cuts to billionaires and corporations.
Yeah, and if you're looking for new branding, I would say you could call it the big betrayal, because that's exactly what's happened here. Is when this administration came in and said they were going to lower costs for working people on day one, that we were going to bring jobs back to this country, we have seen the exact opposite. People are feeling less secure. They have fewer rights than they did before last January. And I think this is a moment where we should be looking at a broken system, that working people are continuing to bear the brunt of these policy decisions, while corporate CEOs are, running ahead, making on average 300 times the average worker. There's something wrong with the system while we're watching inequality continue to grow. And people just want to have some kind of security in their lives.
Liz, in the poll that Willie just referenced, 59% of the people polled said not having benefits was affecting them negatively. So given the rising cost of health care in this country, what is the cost of health care benefits and a union member's paycheck doing to that member's life in terms of cost of living?
Well, when you're in a union, you actually do have benefits. You have health care coverage. You have retirement security, because we've negotiated that benefit in our contracts, as well as better pay. And in fact, a study just came out from the Economic Policy Institute saying state after state, you look at union workers versus non-union workers. Union workers always do better. And there's a better quality of life. They're able to send their kids to school and maybe to college without going into debt. They're able to afford housing. And those are some of the biggest concerns we hear from people time and time again, is the rising cost of rent. We now see the cost of electricity prices skyrocketing, not to mention technology and artificial intelligence and what that's doing to working people. It's like a cloud hanging over us. Every day you go to work thinking about, could you be automated away? Could technology be taking your place? And so the bottom line is working people feel frustrated. They need a voice. They feel that the power balance is completely out of whack in this economy, and that really coming together in a union is the way we create more power for working people to demand more, to demand that health care coverage that we so deserve. Because, in the richest country in the world, we shouldn't have to struggle day to day like we are.
Liz, thanks so much for being with us. Pablo Torres here has the next question for you. Pablo. Yeah, Liz, thank you, Joe. I come at this from the perspective of sports, of course, and I have noticed forever in sports how the fan base takes the position that we relate more to the billionaire owners, to management, than we do with labor. Now, in sports, of course, the labor celebrities themselves. But I've noticed in America that there is still very deeply this aspirational psychology in which people, when they hear, wait a minute, you're going to punish the executives, the billionaires, well, that means you're punishing my dreams. You're punishing what I want to be. Could you speak to the frustration of trying to cut through to the reality of that and the political opportunity that comes with focusing on the reality of that discrepancy?
Well, we all want to do well. People want to succeed in their lives, and we think, everyone should have a shot at a good job and earning a decent living. It's pretty tough to make it into the 1%. I think we can all agree. And yes, we have aspirations to be like Travis Kelce, who is actually a union member, by the way. Congratulations, Travis.
Yes.
And Taylor Swift is as well, a member of SAG-AFTRA, the musicians union. But yes, there is this notion that it's us versus them. The working people of this country are all in this together. And the soonest we see that we aren't in competition with each other, that we don't have to go to the lowest common denominator, that we can all aspire to do well, the better off we'll be as a country.
Liz, we're always talking about inflation. Is it going up? Is it going down? The thing that we're all concerned about, because we all have children, we're concerned about the fact that, when I was 25, I was able to buy my first home. I had a very middle-class existence when my parents, very sort of working middle class. I think they probably bought their first home in their mid-20s as well. Now you have kids that get out into the workforce. They can't afford a house in their 20s. They can't afford a house in their 30s. In their 40s, maybe they can afford a house if they have parents that will help them. I mean, talk about union members and how they are falling. Not only they're falling further and further behind, but how they're not able to live the American dream right now, where their children can have a better life than them. And how do we fix that?
You're absolutely right. When you talk about home ownership, the people I talk to basically say that is completely out of reach, let alone young people, right, who are finding their way in this economy. They have invested in their education or into trade school, looking for a pathway to the middle class. The middle class is fast disappearing. And people are feeling, wow, I don't have the opportunities that my parents had. In some cases, they're starting to work 2 and 3 jobs just to get by. That is not right. That is not fair. And so, yes, joining together in a union, we always say, is going to give you that opportunity. But the pressure on union members who have always set the bar, who have always, the rising tide lifting all boats, the union contracts are the engine often in a community to really lift up all wages for working people. But if you're on an island that's a shrinking island and the rest of the folks around you are making less and less, it puts a lot of pressure on those contracts. And we're seeing that now with Boeing workers who are on strike in St. Louis. They're standing up and fighting because in an era where companies are continuing to make record profits, we need to find a way to share with the people who are actually making those companies profitable.
All right, President of the AFL-CIO, Liz Shuler, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. The organization's State of the Union's address will be live streamed at 11 a.m. Eastern at the AFL-CIO at AFLCIO.org, so you can watch it there.